Hello, welcome everyone. Hello, welcome everyone. We are still waiting for the presenter. I know that we had about 20 some people that had signed up for this presentation. So I want to give people a bit more time before we get started. In the meantime, while we're waiting for our presenter to arrive, I wanted to just let you guys know about some upcoming Sherman Park community events. As you know, the Sherman Park has a neighborhood improvement district grant program that's available to people that live in a certain area of Sherman Park. We will start handing out the applications for that grant program this Friday, February 14th. They will be available right outside the Sherman Park doors, and they will also be available online at our website, shermanpark.org. Also, we have the NID annual meeting that's coming up Tuesday, March 4th from 6 to 7:30 at Mary Ryan Boys and Girls Club. We also have the Sherman Park Annual Housing Resource Fair coming up Saturday, March 22nd from 9 to 12, also at the Mary Ryan Boys and Girls Club. And if you have any other questions about the NID program, we will have current board members at that event where they will be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. Let's see, we also have a monthly eco webinar where we talk about green topics, and those are usually the last Thursday of each month. So the next one will be Thursday, February 27th from 6 to 7:30. And then again, March 27th, a Thursday, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Okay, and our host has finally arrived. So let's just wait a few more minutes for him to come in. Hi, Ben, nice to see you.
I'm glad I made it. I figured it out. Thank you, and I apologize for being a few minutes behind here.
Oh, no problem. Not a big deal. No worries.
Can you hear me all right?
I think so. Yep.
Okay. So jumping in late, have you already introduced me?
No, I have not. So yeah, I was just giving updates of upcoming events here at SPCA while we were waiting for you. So do you mind introducing yourself?
No.
All right, great.
These are not. So if you can hear me without the headphones, this is okay. I'm Ben Marins. I work with the state's Bureau of Consumer Protection. We do outreach to the tune of about 550 talks a year between two of us, one my coworker Jeff and Madison and me here. And tonight we're going to talk about home improvement, some of the things if you're going to hire a contractor that you should be aware of. If you have questions, you can, I don't know if you want to just put them in the chat and then Anna, you could just interrupt me or we could do it at the end. I'm not going to see them
Okay,
because I'm
sure.
on the screen up, but uh, and we'll go about 45 minutes or so. Kind of depends. It's usually a little quicker on Zoom than when I'm in person, but so that's what we're doing here. Any questions before we go?
Any of our community members have questions for Ben?
To this. All right. Can everybody see this? Good. So, as I said, I'm with the Bureau of Consumer Protection. Our mission is to help ensure that business practices are fair for both buyers and sellers. So, we try to help fight fraud and deception, scams, identity theft, unfair business practices. And we do this through the administration of 70 consumer protection statutes. If you are when he studies the laws, our key laws are 100.18 and 100.20 in the DATCAP state statute. So in addition to that, though, we do a few things. We operate a hotline. So if you have any questions about what we're talking about tonight or anything else as a consumer, no question is too small to call us. Our 800 number on the line there, and I'll try to make sure that it gets into the chat, or I don't know if you want to do it just Monday through Friday, 7:45 to 4:30. If you want to know if you can check the complaint history of a contractor, you would call us. We also have mediators who would look into things on your behalf and help you if you're not being treated fairly, and investigators who help do that as well. Our outreach and education is at the center of what we do. We also operate the do not call law, and if you contact us about signing up for that, you'll get less telemarketer calls. You still get the scam calls, but when you sign up with us, you're signing up with the federal registry. So at least there's some support for you there. If you do have your identity stolen, we try to help you figure out what to do. Same thing with scams. And a couple other things that we do to keep you busy. You are one of the first audiences in the state to see this. It just came out. It is the 2024 complaint history, top 10. And as you can see for tonight, the number 3 is home improvement. Landlord tenant usually is number 1 in the last couple of years, but telemarketing issues, home improvement, and the rest of the 10 are issues that we get complaints about that we try to help you with. So when we're talking about home improvement, we're looking at some of the laws not only talk about home improvement, but they look at if you are told you win a prize, or here's a key, come see if it fits the car, and then you win the car. Advertising and telecommunications, all the items listed here, consumer issues, right? Car repair, home repair, landlord tenant. You're not alone if you're a consumer is the message. And a lot of people don't realize we exist. And I don't know if a lot of states operate as we do, but if you're a consumer with questions, needs, or want support, please know we want you to call us. So when we talk about the home improvement trade practices, again, Administration Code 110, if you're a legal eagle, it talks about, and we'll look through this in this PowerPoint, our contract requirements, what's not allowed, substitution of materials, what's a lien waiver? If you don't get the contract, what happens? If it gets canceled on you, or can you cancel it? Permits, do you have to get them? And if you don't, what's your obligation? Warranties and contract cancellations, these are all the things that come up. And if after all this, you still want to talk privately because you don't want to talk online, you can certainly call me and I'll put my cell phone in the chat. Not tonight, but I have a meeting after this meeting. But anytime, I'm happy to take your call. So home improvement refers to a home that's not new construction, not commercial property. And if it's residential, If you're putting more money into the residence than it's currently worth in terms of what the property tax market value is, it wouldn't be covered. Everything else is, if you're doing, say you're putting on in a bathroom in your home, um, and non-commercial property as well. But we're really talking about home ownership tonight for the most part. So contracts, anything you do today where you're putting money down of any import, right? $100 or more, it should be captured. We talk about, should it be in writing? Well, it could be, but you can capture it by recording audio and or video on your phone too. You don't have to write it down, but you should capture it. If you're doing anything to the home, roofing, patio, driveway, a swimming pool or a porch, alarms, floor coverings, everything you spend money on to keep your house going, where you pay somebody else, you should have a contract. And you can keep a file of it so you'll know the history of the home repairs over the years for you. And if you sell the house, you can show somebody how well you've taken care of it. But you have to have it in paper. And immediately you want it in paper because you want to make sure you know what you're paying for. The contractor knows what you're paying for, and that you both at the end can say the contract was fulfilled. And if it's not in terms of the contractor, come to us. If it's not in terms of you, that's different. So when do you get a written contract? Well, you should get it's required if you put a prepayment or a down payment. If you're solicited away from the business, so at your door or maybe at a coffee shop. If it's a phone or mail solicitation, or if they leave you a circular in your mailbox. Whether or not it's required by law, you as a consumer should be a consumer with intention. And consumers with intention protect themselves. You want a written contract. And if for any reason the person doesn't want to give it to you, that's a sign you should be a little concerned. And if they don't want to give it to you, but you want to do business with them, you say, okay, well, I don't care if we have it written, but I'm going to take my phone and I'm going to hit record audio or video because we're going to capture it. And I'm then going to send it to you because we both should know exactly what we're agreeing to. So the contract has certain requirements by law. It has to have the contractor's name, the salesperson, how you get in touch with them, their phone number and address. If they're doing work, then you should know the name, make, size, capacity, etc. As you see here, I don't read it all to you, but you want to know what you're buying, not just, oh, we're going to put in, some nice linoleum floor. No, you want to know exactly what you're buying, the grade, the quality, the size, how much, because that tells you how much it's going to cost. The contract should have the total price, start and finish dates. Things don't always go as planned, but you should have a contract with a plan to try to start on a certain day and be done by a certain day. And if there's a written contract and you sign it by law, the contractor has to sign it. They can't refuse to sign their own contract if you sign it. But again, if they are giving you a hard time, maybe you don't want to do work with them, or at least you want to call us and get some help. And if there is a contract, you have the right to have a full copy of it before the work begins or when you give the down payment. Lien waivers are something you have a right to, not something a lot of us have tons of experience in. A lien waiver should be offered to you before someone does work on your home. If they don't, then you should request it. A lien waiver basically says, let's say you're A, I'm the contractor, I'm B, and I owe money to Joe. Joe is C. If I don't pay Joe, if you don't have a lien waiver, Joe can say that you should pay him. C pays A instead of B, or A pays C rather, instead of paying B. But you actually have no responsibility to pay your contractor's bills. The lien waiver, which you should get every time you're putting any money down, any contract gets signed. If they don't offer to you, you ask for it. If they refuse to give it to you, you should definitely pause before you give them any money or sign a contract. Or at that point, you should get some help from us because that lien waiver means you owe them money, regardless of who they owe money to. Because if they put a lien on your house, I mean, you couldn't sell it. It's not nice to have somebody with a lien on you, especially if you don't owe them any money. So the lien waiver is your right. That's pretty much the most important thing of this slide and one of this whole talk. It's the right to protect yourself here from the contractor's bills. So there are certain things that are prohibited by law. The seller can't misrepresent a lot of things.
Ben, we have a question here.
Yes.
Is there a cost for a lien waiver?
No, you're supposed to be given those. But I can tell you it's a huge cost if you don't ask for it. But no, there's no cost for it. It's a good question. Anything else so far?
Nope, that was the only question in the chat right now.
So when you're working with somebody, they can't misrepresent a discount. If it's $1,000 job and they say it's a 20% discount, you got to pay them $900. That math's not right. They can't misrepresent the products or the materials. If they say they're putting oak floors in your kitchen, they can't come up with something else unless you agree to it. They can't tell you it's marked down significantly and then at the end substitute either price or product. So you get the markdown, but you get the markdown because you get a lot cheaper product. They can't misrepresent gift items or anything that's free. And they can't misrepresent how the financing works. Basically, the law here is you got to tell the truth. But consumers with intention, that I urge all of us to be, you need to make sure you know what you signed. If you're not quite sure, have someone help you. Better Business can do it. We can do it. Know what you're signing and make sure that you can see that they said they do A, B, and C. And when they said, thank you, the job's done. We're ready for our final payment. And you look, A, B, and C was done. So what about changing the contract? Can you substitute materials? Yeah, if you're going to change the materials, but there's no additional cost to the buyer. Let's say they want to put in a oak floor, but they don't have as much oak wood as they thought, but they've got a lot of pine wood, and it's really nice. And it would be an upcharge if you were to buy it. Well, they could offer you the increase. You wouldn't pay for it though. Or if they tell you we're going to do it a little differently, as long as it's not decreasing the value of what they're going to give you or the materials they're using, that's all right. But it's up to you, not them. And if they change anything, they've got to put that in writing as well. You want all contract alterations in writing. They may say they don't want to do it or they don't have time. Again, you pick up the phone. Let's say they're outside working on the deck and they want to talk to you about changing the agreement. You still can capture it even if you don't sit down and write it down. So there are usually, if you're doing major work and a lot of other non-major but substantial work, permits required. You should be checking with the building inspector or your village, your town, and the city. Find out if what you want to do requires a contract, a permit. Find out what it costs. Now, the contractor may say, I take care of the permits, and ask him, what does he charge? Or she, let's say, they say, yeah, well, it's $50 permit, but I charge you $100 because I got to go wait in line to get it and I've got to process it. Well, maybe you don't want to pay the extra money, in which case you get it. And you know, it's not a big deal to do it. But you have to get a permit for most work. Somebody who pays for it is always you. It's your permit. Now, you also need to check with either the building inspector or the Department of Safety and Professional Services about certain contractor certification. Somebody's rebuilding your foundation on your house. Do they need special certification for that? If they do, you should know that, because then if they don't have it, you wouldn't hire them. Local building inspectors will tell you if there are inspections before or after, certificates, permits. Some of the stuff you can do, it's nobody's business but yours, but other of it, there are rules in the communities you're in. So again, if you've never done this before, if you've done a lot of work on your home, I'm reinforcing what you know. But for a lot of us who have not done this, this is new stuff. Lots of us have done this for the first time. If this is going to be for the first time for you, you'll get through it too. But take your time and making sure you ask the questions ahead of time of us, of the contractor, of the building inspector. So you go into this that you know what you're buying, you know what you're going to pay, and you know what you expect to get when it's all over. So warranties are good. They tell you that if things don't go well, or for a certain amount of time, if they don't go well, they're going to fix it for you. So you want to ask them before you do the work, what's the warranty? Is it on the labor? Is it on the product they're putting in? How long? Uh, are there conditions or exclusions or limits? Usually it's time periods. But whatever it is, you want to know what you're getting in warranty. How are they guaranteeing that they're going to stand by the product? Now, you do have the right to cancel a contract. There are times where you think, oh my God, what a mistake. Uh, you have 3 days to cancel that contract. If you were solicited away from the seller's regular place of business. So if they called you or they emailed you and you answered it or put something in your mailbox, you have from the contractor, and this is before the work starts, you should be given, and if you're not given your request, 2 copies of the right to cancel the contract. It's a form. You sign one, you give them one. If you are going to cancel, you need to sign and date it. Send it either certified mail or hand it to them within 3 days, business days. These days, everybody likes to email, and it would make sense if you emailed, it's okay. But in this case, you got to write certified mail. So if you want to cancel it, but it's 5 days or 10 days, if the contractor said, I'll be there Monday, never called and didn't show up for a full week, you have the right to cancel. He's not or she's not abided by the contract you signed. And usually, if you're signing a contract for improvement, you're going to put some money down. So you've already shown good faith. They have to do it too. However, I talk a lot about being relational, not transactional. So if your contractor calls you Sunday and says, hey, I know I'm supposed to start the job tomorrow, but 3 of my crew have the flu. All right, you cancel the contract. Or you can say, listen, the law says I cancel. You're not getting it done on time. But I'm a consumer with intention and a soul. Three of your 5 staff are sick. I get it. Your kid broke your leg. You're in the hospital because you're helping your kid. I get it. If you don't have any communication with them, you're just going to stick to the law. And the letter of law says if they don't do what they say, you can cancel it. If they don't give you a notice of the delay, if they haven't provided the services in a timely manner, if the contract had no deadline, what's a timely manner? It's kind of tough to know. You want to have a deadline in your contract. And you say, when are you going to start? When are you going to finish? So cancellation, couple steps. You want to write it down, a letter saying I'm canceling the contract. In the letter, you demand return of all the money if the seller is not spent yet on the material. Let's say you give him $5,000 for the deck, and that $5,000 was basically to buy the deck. The second $5,000 is going to be mostly labor. Well, he goes and he buys the wood. Let's say he spends $2,500 of the $5,000 you gave him. Then he should give you $2,500 worth of wood and a check for $2,500. You also would want a written accounting of all the payments the contractor made on your behalf with your money. And again, the way you want to send this is certified mail to their last known address, or regular mail if you know it's their last known address. But if you go talk to them, it's probably the best way to be a consumer with intention and be relational if you can. So the contractor has 2 15-day periods and 1 30-day period that apply when you cancel. The payments need to come back to you, the money he did or she did not spend within 15 calendar days, so 2 weeks. The material they bought that they're not going to be working on would be also 15 days. But the really important document is, well, what's the written accounting? So you get you get in 15 days, you get wood for your deck and money, but you don't know how much was spent on what. That has to come within 30 days. Ideally, it would come within the 15 days. And depending what kind of relationship you have with your contractor, that can be discussed. But if it's at all adversarial, then you stick to, I've got 15 days for these two and 30 days for that one. And you're going to do that because that's what the law says. So sometimes there are extra cancellation protections. If your contract is for outside repair and involves an insurance claim, the Wisconsin statute section 100.65 talks about cancellation disclosure notification. How does this work if insurance is involved? But the most important thing I have to tell you here is if you deal with a contract, says, listen, I'm going to write the contract so you actually won't end up paying your deductible. You know that at this point, they are someone you don't want to do business with. If you sign a contract with your insurer and they insure your property and say that if there is damage we're going to fix, you've agreed to pay a certain amount of deductible. Law doesn't let the contractor pay that as a way to incentivize you to do business with him versus somebody else down the street. So if it's an insurance job and that contractor tells you we can get around the deductible, this is not legal, and it tells you that if you can't run, walk away from this person. So before you begin the job, this is really critical. Decide what you want to do. You're going to put in new floors in the kitchen? Is that it? Because you don't want to be in the middle of the job. Say, let's do cabinets too, because before you know it, you're spending a lot of money that you didn't plan for. And you're working with a contractor who expected one thing and you keep changing it. Get more than one estimate. This is when you've got time. If a tornado takes the roof of your house out, it's kind of hard to get estimates. But if you can, you do. You want to check references. And if you call us, we can check the complaint histories of somebody. So let's say Acme Roof is going to help fix your roof after the tornado hit it. And you call us, say, are there any complaints about Acme Roof of Sturtevant? And they said, well, yeah, there's 10 in the last 3 months or 10 in the last 10 years. The former, you may not want to do business with them. The latter, maybe, but at least you've looked into them. All right. This is somebody who's going to be doing work on your home where you raise your family and going to live out your days. You want to make sure they do it right. There are a lot of really good contractors out there, but not everybody. And what makes the difference is the consumer. The consumer who asks the questions, make sure you know what you're doing, plan it. The more decisive you are going into the job, the contractor will know what to do. But if you aren't, they're going to suggest things. And usually, if I'm in business and I'm suggesting, I'm doing it to help you, but help me too. It may cost you more money because you didn't plan. This happens a lot more in the summer when we get storms, but it can happen at any time of year. Last February, if you remember, we had tornadoes in Rock County. And I went down there because there was a lot of damage. To tell them what I'm telling you right now. When transient contractors come by, we warn you not to do business with them no matter what the price is. It will always be really good. But if they come by to blacktop your driveway, there's a woman I've seen over the years in my neighborhood in this truck that looks like she tarred the truck. It's a mess. She does a decent job. It's really cheap, a couple $100 to do your long driveway. But the quality of the materials can't be guaranteed, and she's nowhere to be found if things don't work out in the month or two after she's done. Door-to-door solicitations are to be avoided. And the police ask if somebody comes from out of town and solicits your door, you call them and let them know. Out-of-state license plates from anyone soliciting you for home improvement work, it's a sign they're transient. Is that always bad? No. But you can't know the difference if they're a trustworthy transient contractor or a non-trustworthy transient contractor. You want to be able to go to their office and say, hey, listen, the deck is coming apart. Or, hey, the roof is leaking and you just put it on. You don't want to have to worry about how am I going to find them or who am I going to pay to do the work that guy didn't do. Anything that's high pressure, your money and you work hard for it. Somebody should not be pressuring you to spend it. That's why I talk a lot about consume with intention. You don't put the new sidewalk on your house or the new driveway on your house because somebody said you should do it. Do it because you think you should do it. And if you consume with intention, then you know what you want, you know what you can spend, you know when you want it done. These are all things that help keep you safe. And none of this is practical if someone shows up out of the blue to your door from somewhere not near here. And we there are people who chase storms. It's not always bad. I mean, there are people who come and help. There were people who came up from Illinois to Rock County, I'm sure, to help people rebuild their homes and their barns. But you've got to be very careful. And if it's right after a major catastrophe has happened, you may not be as emotionally focused and centered as you should be. You want to be very careful then who you do business with. So let's say it doesn't work out and you need somebody to help you. If you contact us, we can work with you and the contractor. We'll try to mediate for you. We can investigate if you've been wronged or not. Sometimes you need a lawyer, you got to go to court, but before it gets to that point, there are ways that we can step in. Now, if you go to our website, datcap.wi.gov, the first line is online services, and the fourth item is file a complaint. If for any reason you don't want to go online and do this, and you call us, we'll help you do it. And again, in this complaint, you talk about what happened. We had somebody contact us. The man had a garage burn, and the insurance company gave him $30,000 to rebuild it, and he gave $15,000 to a contractor, but he didn't speak English. So the contractor figured, well, he doesn't speak the language. I'll walk. So he contacted us, filled out this form, copies of the contract, the check that was cashed, the email exchanges, and we intervened and the contractor finished the job. Sometimes it helps to have the state Consumer Protection Bureau help you. But if you don't even know we're here, you'd never ask. 3 years ago, before I started working here, I didn't know we were here. So promoting what we do is really important. And for you as a consumer, knowing you're not alone, you're a homeowner putting money into your home, that's kind of daunting. To have to do it all alone without anybody helping you or giving you some suggestions or telling you what to do. In Wisconsin, that's not the case. You call it or call me. So at that point, I can stop sharing. So it always seems to run quicker when I'm not live. I don't know what that is. But that being said, questions or comments? You get home improvement plans? Anybody already?
Ben, one of the reasons why we invited you is because we do run a $5,000 home repair grant for certain Sherman Park residents. And so we wanted to bring you, so because, for some homeowners, this is the first time that they'll be hiring a contractor. And that's part of the program. We don't do that. We don't recommend contractors. The homeowner has to do that, but sometimes they just don't have the experience. And so we want them to be informed as best as possible.
Okay. I put my cell phone, our 800 number, and my email in the chat. So if you have specifics or you thought about it tonight, what did he say? Call me. Glad to take the call. Knowing what you want to do ahead of time. And if you're partnered, you and your partner really need to get through the struggle because it can be. Know exactly, be lockstep. So that the two of you are in agreement as you go, ask the questions, decide the project, set the financial parameters, the calendar parameters, so that you guys are unified if it's more than one, if you're doing it.
Are there any handouts that you were going to give? What I can do is I can email them to the people who registered.
Yes, we do have them, and I was going to do that ahead of time. So sorry I didn't do that tonight.
Oh, it's okay.
So if I can get it in the chat, if you just give me a minute, or I can email it to you. It's up to you.
Why don't you do both? Why don't you go ahead and put them in the chat, and then I'll still forward them over to everybody who registered.
Okay. So our website that I put in the chat has fact sheets about all sorts of consumer issues. So if you click on publications and consumer resources, there's information on telemarketers, there's information on scams, on freezing your credit. As long as I've got you here, by the way, it's got nothing to do with home improvement. But we tell people that one thing you should do to make sure you stay safe for you and everyone in the family age 6 to 106 is to make sure you freeze your credit. There are three credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And those it's pretty simple to do, but it's really this best security that there is out there. It's really a whole nother presentation I'll gladly come back on, but I'll include a credit freeze document as well because it's just really standard and important.
Why do you say that? Why should we freeze our credit? So that
When
other
you,
people do,
yeah, it's a good question. When you, how do I explain this? When you've got your information, how do I say this? Comparing, when I talk about scams, I tell people nobody gets scammed without their permission, which means none of us have to be scam victims. One of the things we do to protect our finances is to freeze our credit with the three agencies. And what that does, it stops anyone from doing a credit check unless we decided to unfreeze our account. I tell you it's important because the other thing that we worry about today is identity theft. A lot of that happens because our information, our digital identity, are in the computers of our healthcare providers and our banks and the government and a whole host of others. We can't protect that. It's not our computer. When you freeze your credit, you are stopping anybody from taking money in your name, even if you're part of a big data breach, like if you're part of the AT&T data breach about a year and a half ago. 70 million of us. So what do you do about that? Well, if your credit's frozen, that's the step you should take. And I say do it for the kids and the elders, because the little kids will not check their credit for a decade. But if they've got a Social Security number, you freeze your credit.
right?
So freeze
It's-
the credit just in general, not if you're, not even if you're just hiring a contractor, just in
No,
general.
no. This is an addition to talking about home improvement. It's not just fill time while I get you the fact sheet. It's this is the most important step and the best protection in today's sort of dangerous tech world because it's tricky. That this way they can't take your money. They can do other things, but they can't take your money. And the home improvement consumer tips is now in the chat. So we're halfway there. I'll get you the credit freeze too, because that's.
So the three credit companies are Experian and who else?
I'm going to put that sheet in here, but Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion.
It's just a matter of making a phone call to them?
Yeah, or going online and setting up. So what you do in here, now you've got this. Okay. So what you do when you contact them is you freezing your credit's pretty simple. There's a toggle switch. To freeze it, you hit off to on. Setting up the account, you set up some security questions. What was the name of your first grade teacher? What was your first pet's name? What's the first car you ever drove? These are also questions, by the way, that you frequently will see on social media like Facebook. Hey, everybody, what was? Those aren't your friends. Those
Right.
are scammers trying to get your personal information. You don't want to engage with them because you're giving them the answers to the questions that you set up to block them from getting your security. When you freeze your security, it won't affect your current loans, mortgages, or credit cards. Credit cards are instant loans. But if you want to get a new credit card or a new loan, you're going to get a home improvement loan or a loan for a boat, they'll say, listen, I've got to check your credit. Any banker or lender would do that. And again, your credit rating Good one is 800. You get a good credit rating by paying your bills on time, over time. So if you are known to be someone who will take out money, credit card or what have you, pay it off on time, that tells other lenders you should be trusted. That's why an 800 number is a good score. Because online, I can be any of you if I know your name, your birthday, and your social security number. That's a good start for me getting that loan in your name.
Mhm.
So let's say I have all of that and I go to get a loan and the banker or lender says, well, I want to check your credit. It's frozen. You have to unfreeze it.
Mm.
But if I'm not really you, I shouldn't know the security questions. I won't be able to unfreeze it.
Okay.
Uh, but the other side is when you have it frozen and somebody is going to check it, ask them when they're going to check it so you can unfreeze your credit, say from 1 to 4 on Tuesday. If you say, well, I don't know, sometime next week, you as a consumer with intention say, with all due respect, that's not good enough. I can't leave my credit unfrozen for 7 days.
Okay.
You shouldn't have to. Has this helped?
Yeah.
Confused? It's not part of this talk, but it's really important stuff. So the home improvement handout is in the chat, as is the credit report handout. If you want more information, our website, if you go to the fact sheets, you can get lost. There's thousands of fact sheets.
Now, what if like you hire somebody and they give you an address and their name and a phone number, and then something goes awry and they're nowhere to be found. They're not at that address. What,
Yeah.
some way to check that ahead of time?
Yeah, sure. Well, that was my first comment to you. Um, yeah, the way you figure that out is to find out. Um, they say they live at, 2110 North Sherman. Drive by. Does that address exist? Again, I don't want to make you skeptical. I don't want you to doubt everyone, but if you're putting money into your home, this is a big investment. And if you've not worked with somebody before, if you don't know people who have had work done that you like, that you could ask them for suggestions. If you're doing this on your own, we can tell you about complaint histories. We can't tell you, oh, you should hire this person or that person.
Right.
So if you're doing it on your own, yeah, where are you located? And can you give me the name of 3 people you've worked with so I can go talk to them about it? Now, they probably will give you the 3 uh, happiest customers, but that's okay.
Mhm.
They'll tell you how this person did their job. Yeah, but I wasn't sure who asked that question, but yeah, you're right. If you don't check until you've paid the money and all of a sudden the railings are falling off the deck, and then you drive by an address that doesn't exist.
Mhm.
So again, you're doing your homework ahead of time. The more time you put in ahead of time, looking at the different options, instead if you're putting in a deck, the different types of wood, the different types of railings. If there's a non-wood deck, maybe, what are the options for you? Who does it? What price are you seeing out there? You can compare all, the internet lets us do a lot of comparison to get an idea of what you're doing. Home improvement's usually not something that we do fast. Now, again, tornado takes your roof off, you're gonna have to operate a little faster. But if it's something you're planning, take a little time. And again, if you're not sure, what are the steps I should take? I'm going to put a new deck in. Call us. If we
Mm.
can't tell you, we can tell you who you should call.
Mhm. Yeah, it always feels so scary hiring a contractor. Unless you get, unless you've gotten into the, you luckily found a really good handyman and they're trustworthy.
Well,
If
again,
you've got a neighbor who you know they got some good exterior painting done on their house and you ask them who was that, and then you hire them and they do a good job on your house, so.
and let's say you're again, you want to get your house painted. There are professional associations for contractors, painters, uh, woodworkers, flooring. Check the associations. They're going to promote their people who are doing good work.
Yeah.
And again, yeah, if you know a neighbor and you love what was done to their house, yeah, I would ask, sure.
Yeah, so I don't know, I would kind of recommend seeing what your neighbors are having done. And if it looks like a really good result, ask them, who was that? Who did you
That
have?
is definitely something you can do. Yeah. People get home improvement contracting done successfully all the time.
Mhm.
Some people run into scrupulous characters or they don't plan right or it doesn't work. There's no guarantees in life for any of this. But the way this works for you is A, knowing that you've got some rights as a consumer, capture your agreements, phone or audio, video, or written, or all three, and get a sense of what you want ahead of time so you're not changing the job in the middle of it. These things lead to success.
Mhm.
And let's say you're not doing anything for 6 months and 5 months go by and you're like, man, I don't remember everything they said. Call us, either me or the 800 line.
Okay.
Anything else I can help anybody with? Okay, great. Happy to come back to do any of the other topics that we talk about. Scams, identity theft, safe online shopping, motor vehicle repair, landlord-tenant rights. Or if you have questions about this stuff before I would do a presentation, contact me. Last thing I'll tell you is, if you're part of other groups that have free have speakers, we don't charge. I'm a tax-paid employee, so I've got about 100 talks on my calendar for the year so far, and I had almost 300 last year. So I'm getting there, but I need people like you to help. If you know people want speakers for Rotary groups, church groups, send them my way.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Ben. I will certainly keep that in mind for the future. We appreciate you coming out and giving this information to our residents. So if you guys have any other questions or other things to discuss with us, otherwise you can always give us a call at SPCA. Well, thank you everyone
Yeah,
for taking
everybody.
your time. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.